Let's move on to Anthony Edwards, their most recent number one pick. Where are we at with Anthony Edwards? He's been very iffy on the offensive end of the floor so far this season. 35% on catch and shoot threes, which is good, but 29% on pull-up twos, 28% on dribble jumper threes, only 49% within 5 feet of the rim. Some iffy shot selection out there on the court, which was to be expected from him as a rookie. That is to be expected, to be clear. However, I am wondering, guys, how do we feel about the progress of Anthony Edwards since his season at Georgia? Where are we at with him in the context of what Minnesota is trying to build out?
I think, well, for one, let's shout out that dunk. Like, that dunk on last Friday was probably the highlight of the year, if not the decade.
So
that
awesome.
Was incredible. And I think, so you're 100% right. Like, if you had told me before this season, okay, Edwards is going to play on this Minnesota team, Cat will be hurt for most of the year, then Russell will be hurt, there'll be no structure, they're going to fire their coach, I'd be like, oh yeah, he'll be jacking up a lot of bad shots. And that's what's happened. That's what I expected. I always thought this is a guy who needs offensive structure, a clearly defined role with better players around him. And that just hasn't happened this season for a variety of reasons. So I'm not too worried. I think the tools are there.
Can Finch provide that? Can he reel it in, Tjarks? Like, what needs to happen? Or do you want him kind of shooting through this and getting those drives? Like, how do you want it to change with under Finch?
I mean, I would say, like, if you want to lose a lot, you can have him shoot through this. It's no big deal. Like, I think for Finch, like, I want to get Russell and Towns back. I want to build my offense around them. Let Edwards kind of get his moments. Like you said, the catch and shoot is there. He can play off the ball a little bit. It's going to be a progression. It's just how much the team around him lets him grow without putting too much pressure on him.
Yeah, there's already been some good allocation in his game. I mean, I was looking at some of the shot distribution from Georgia to this year. At Georgia, he was prone to settle a lot more. That was a context that enabled some of his sort of, flaws and warts. He shot 67.3% of his attempts were jumpers at Georgia. That's down 10% to 57.9 in his first year. And he's getting to the rim more, which was the thing that people... this guy is an unreal athlete. I mean, just absolutely unreal. He tests in the highest, percentiles with some of the most phenomenal anomalistic athletes that we have. At the basket, he was, 24.2% of his attempts at Georgia, 36.1 in year one. But, he's only finishing 49% at the rim by the metric I'm looking at here. Sometimes it can vary from synergy to cleaning the glass in the NBA. But he around the rim, if he decides he misses probably more layups than he should. Sometimes his awareness around the rim, but his ability to get low and power through gaps, because a lot of times whatever drop big man is there, whatever big guy is there, they're not going to be quick enough, or he just has this blend of power and quickness low to the ground that is really difficult for guys to deal with. And, he has a football background, a lot like a guy we're going to talk about later. And, maybe some of his balance comes from that, his sense of just angles and things like that. But he's a handful around the rim, man.
No doubt. And I think he has flashed enough playmaking ability that maybe over the next 5, 6, 7 years that he progressively taps into that more and more, so that rim penetration can be more than just forcing up a shot, where part of that feel is about deciding whether to actually go up or whether to kick it out. That's the evolution that a lot of those go-to scorer types need to make. And with Edwards, we'll see if he can do that. You mentioned earlier, Tjarks, D'Angelo Russell. You said for Edwards, you want to get Cat and Russell back. But with D'Angelo Russell, his defense has been very, very poor throughout his career. That has remained unchanged. And that is a serious detriment to the value he brings to the court. Are we sure he's a keeper? A long-term keeper for the Minnesota Timberwolves? Are we sure?
I thought you were going to stop the sentence right there. Are we sure he's a keeper, period, for anyone?
Always I just got to see, I want to see this Cat-centric offense and Russell in it as the number 2. Like, I got to see it first before I can decide one way or the other. Because, yes, he's looked bad this year, but Cat hasn't been
5
there.
games together, right?
And over a calendar year.
Games?
It's crazy. So to me, yes, if we're saying, we've seen enough now to say, okay, if D'Angelo's the main guy in your offense, you're not going to be very good. That's pretty established at this point. But can it be a number 2 with a big Cat? That's the hope. I think it makes sense logically, but we got to see it, obviously, before we can say.
I think it's more likely he's a number 3 or lower. I mean, I think that because there's been a direct correlation. I looked this up one time. I agree, Tjarks. There was a direct correlation between his usage rate going up and his efficiency going down. So he's one of those guys that there is sort of a contained area for him to stay valuable on the floor. And the defense is the other part of this. It's like his defense, I think, opens some questions about them in the macro sense that are pretty fascinating to me.
Oh, I mean, just one quick note on what you said, Tjarks, about them not playing together. Cat and D'Lo have only played 90 minutes together this season. Only 90 minutes. There's been 657 minutes without either of them on the court. That's absurd. But Kyle, let's
so are we
get
being
into what you
too
want to talk
mean?
about
Is the question. Are we going to get a bunch of messages? We love to trade your players. That's
Well,
one thing about Ringer
I'll tell you what.
NBA.
I think if you're running more offense through Cat, that's what can unleash D'Lo off ball. It's something I've wanted to see more and more since Ohio State. He can come off screens for. He's not like a 45% 3-point shooter off screens, but he's above average or good off screens coming off handoffs. I want to see more of that with D'Lo. But Kyle, what were you thinking about with the broader thoughts about the Minnesota Timberwolves?
Well, I think we walked the horse all the way to the water there, and I just didn't pay attention to what I was saying is that we talked about how he fits efficiently into these types of parameters. Maybe that's going to be the case. Maybe the case of them channeling, like Nakia said, about making Cat the primary initiator and funnel, because the best offenses in the NBA, this is the way it is, have somebody that can really score and really create and really share efficiently. Is Cat that type of person? Does D'Lo fit into that scheme? It's very possible. So but for me, I think building around Cat, the defense thing, it opens up a lot of kind of lineup questions. Like, how do you support Cat in the way that you need to while also staying flexible? And I was curious about what do you guys think that they have the right type of personnel to do that with their young guys? In terms of who is D'Lo? Are there guys on this roster that you think they could prioritize over D'Lo? Where do you see promise, or maybe, I don't know. I'm just curious about their lineups in general.
Kyle, that's a great segue.
It's your guy. It's your guy,
That is a
Tjarks.
fantastic segue. I think this guy, this is a name to remember. I think most people haven't heard of this guy. His name is Jaden McDaniels. He was a late first-round pick from Washington. He's really come on in the last few, I guess probably since the start of the new year. I think he is the guy who can make all of this work. And that's going to sound, so he's 6'10". He's extremely athletic, and he blocks shots at a ridiculous rate for a perimeter player. I watched this guy think, this is the next Jonathan Isaac. I think he has that kind of potential at the 4 spot to really cover a lot of mistakes. He can switch on to anybody. I looked it up. He has the highest block rate in the league for non-centers already as a rookie. And he can knock down spot-up threes, and that's all you need. I'm putting Jaden McDaniels as a guy to really watch out for.